Hello and welcome to Backlinking, the PKM podcast. And in today's podcast episode, I am going to talk about something that is a little personal, but something I think a lot of people can benefit from. But I can, as usual, only talk in my own experience. And the thing I am going to talk about today is actually the idea of picking the right apps for you, because I am currently back at that stage after I've failed miserably several times. So until like I would say December, I've stayed with an application for around like 4 to 5 months, which isn't terrible, but it isn't the best, especially when it comes to like note-taking applications. You want to stay with them for much longer. It is a really important part of like having a second brain and having knowledge compounding over time is to have that knowledge in one place, or at least as much as possible in one place. And I've been back and forward. And in December, I wrote a blog post. I also did a YouTube video early January, but I filmed it back in December where I talked about these are the apps I'm going to use the whole year. And I really wanted to use all these applications the whole year, but by the time the video was published in early January, I think it was like the first week of January, my system just fell apart. It just did not work at all. And I figured out a few things. Like the main thing I figured out is that visual note-taking applications do not work for me at all. Even though I am a visual person, I work with designing things. That is mainly what I do at my day job every day. I either plan strategies or I design things like social media posts, roll-ups, websites. I am actually currently working on a website. I'm not saying that I am any good. I am self-taught, so I am trying to get better. But that is mainly what my job does. I work with visual things. I work with color swatches. I work with different fonts. That is mainly what I do. I work in marketing and I do all of that stuff myself. You wouldn't believe it if you saw my thumbnails, but I am a little lazy with those, at least. At least for now, I will do a sort of rebrand on things later this year to make it look a little better. But enough about that. I figured out that even though like I work with a lot of visual things, applications like Milanote, Heptabase, Scrintl, they do not work for me. I found that if I have to think too long about where something goes, and that isn't just when I'm capturing it, but also when I'm like going through my inbox or my daily page. If I have to spend a lot of time figuring out where should I put this, um, I end up not doing it, not capturing it, not processing it properly, and I also need to easily be able to find my right notes in the time I need. I've always thought of AI as something that can fix this problem, but what I mean is that I want to find a note that is related to the thing I'm working on quite easily. That's why I really like the idea of something like Mem. It didn't work out, but it was a great idea and still is. Um, so that is like the main things. I prefer having like an all-in-one applications, or at least the same application for my tasks and my to-dos. It isn't a must, but I would prefer it because a lot of my notes are really heavily centered around my projects. My life is very project centric. That might not be it might not be like that for everyone, but especially at work, but also like with the things I do with these YouTube videos, with all of the things I do for this channel and the website I am planning to launch at some point. It is very project centric. It is like uh, one project, then another project, then another project. So a lot of projects. And that is really important for me to know because I figured out that unless I take notes for specific projects, I end up just hoarding a lot of notes. That is what I did with my mind, which became an issue. I was still able to find the things I was looking for, but in many cases, I just had a bunch of notes I did not care about, which isn't too good either. So I found that I need an application that is very project centric, and um, in order to have that, you also should probably have your tasks in the same application. So that is something I figured out that I need. I wish I thought of all of these things previously, but I at this point, as I've talked about before, I am too tired to switch. So I am looking for not the perfect application, but an application that fits my life right now and will do that for the next 2 to 3 years, at least. And I've also found that I want my notes and the things that inspire me to be in two different applications, which is a little hard because there is no clear line between what I personally like, what I store for my projects, and what actually inspires me. There is no clear line, but I found that if you think about Para, like projects, areas, resources, and archive, I want my resources to be separate from the rest of my like personal knowledge management system. So I want a place for inspiration for things that I've found that might be important to me at some later point, especially social media stuff. I'm not necessarily talking about books, but social media stuff, especially articles, things like that. I want them to be in sort of a bookmarking application. I want my resources folder, because Para thinks of things as folders or tags. I want that to be completely out of my system, out of my like daily applications, my daily driver app. So I want, whenever I need something specific, let's say I read The Creative Act and I'm working on an article with about creativity, just as an example. It isn't the best example, but it is an example. Um, I want that book, all of the like annotations and notes I've taken on that book, to live separate from the rest of my PKM system. So I can go in there, I can pick up the things that might be important for this specific blog post or article, and I can move them into my daily driver applications for that project, which is writing the blog post. That is sort of how I'm thinking about it now. And um, I've figured all of this out because I've made so many mistakes, and I've never actually sat down and really thought about it. Or I did it once, but then I changed jobs. So I went from being a freelancer to actually having a job, which was different. And after that, I've never been able to like sit down and properly figure things out, which has been an issue. But that is at least how I'm thinking about it now. So I want that application to be the resources application to be easy to go through, easy to search through, and I've already decided to use Sublime as that application because I feel like it fits. I was considering my mind for that same purpose, but capturing was just too easy in my mind. I also have to be honest and say that I would probably never have given Sublime the chance if I haven't, if they didn't gift me that lifetime free subscription. I wouldn't have thought of it as an option. But I think it fits because capturing isn't as easy as something like my mind. Shareability is possible, which is important to me, and also Kindle integration and the Readwise integration, because I am still considering adding Readwise to my system, but that is more of a utility application. Changing utility applications isn't that big of an issue. Like if I decide that I don't want Raycast anymore, I want something else, that isn't the biggest issue. It is much worse changing note-taking apps, to-do apps, even calendar apps isn't that bad. But I have decided on Sublime as my resources app. I also want my journal to be like outside of my daily driver application, just because I feel like journaling is something else. It shouldn't be together with my projects, with my to-do lists, with my thoughts around projects and notes around projects. So I've decided to use Twos as like my journaling application. I've always, ever since I found this application, I've been using it. I've had different purposes for it, but mostly it's been a journaling application. And the point here is that everything goes into Twos after the fact. So after I've done something, I will put it in Twos. I will not plan for a to do tomorrow in Twos, but once I've done it, I will put it into Twos and I will check it off. Um, the thing I haven't figured out yet is that main like note-taking application. Hopefully I will figure that out at some point soon. I have been testing different ones. Currently I am testing out Tana. And mainly I want to see how it does with things like images, because even though I don't like that visual note-taking, I still want to have images in my note-taking app. Like if I can't have a social media post live inside of a note-taking app, I have an issue, because I need those images to look at them, to be easily accessible, and just they are a huge part of my work, both at my day job and also with all of the social media stuff. So that covers like the main idea here. And I've also thought about, because I've made videos talking about I struggle with applications like Obsidian and even applications like Notion, because I tend to organize too much instead of actually working. Um, and that has been an issue I've had. I've spent too much time organizing, too little working, which drove me away from applications like Anytype, like Capacities, and like Tana. Even though I think object-based note-taking is a thing I really do like. So um, I have decided to give Tana another chance. I cannot use Anytype. Or if I could, I probably would just end up going for Anytype right now, but I can't, simply because I need a web version. I have too many different devices, both again at home and at work, to be able to like download it on every single device, and especially work computers, which is one of the like main reasons why I have a PKM system. And if I can't have like my notes on my day job, there isn't really a huge reason to have notes or to have a PKM system. So Anytype doesn't work for that specific reason. Capacities, I just don't have the time to like learn it. I will give it another try. Tana is an application I've learned previously. I know how it works, so I decided to give it another try, because I read this blog post, or I think it was a Medium article by PKM Beth. If you haven't checked out her, I think she posts videos too, but her articles are great. She talked about object-based note-taking and how object-based note-taking stopped her from over organizing, and I just wanted to give that a shot and see how it worked out for me. So that is currently what I'm doing on the like main note-taking app front. I also lost my calendar application. It is shutting down. I used Arise Calendar, which is gone, or it isn't gone yet, but it will be, I decided to just go for Fantastical. It isn't the best calendar application on the market, but it does the job. It is pretty cheap. It does the job. It works on my Mac, it works on my iPhone, which is mainly where I do my like daily planning, because there is a difference. Like when I'm at work, use a Windows PC. I also have one at home, but at work I use a Windows PC, and I don't necessarily need to check my calendar on that PC. I can pick up my phone and check my calendar on my phone. But with my notes, it is a little different. I can't just pick up my phone and start writing notes for a specific project, and I have to have like my phone up all the time to look at my notes while I'm writing, or while even while I'm sitting in a meeting. That is a little different. So I've decided to just go for Fantastical. It works for my specific reason, and I do a lot of calendar blocking. That is mainly what I do in my calendar. I have some meetings, but apart from a daily stand-up meeting, I don't have a lot of meetings. But I have some. I mainly use it for like daily planning and how I do my daily planning. So as I said, currently I'm testing out Tana. So I have a new system because I get overwhelmed by to-do list applications and to-do lists in general. Like having a huge to-do list is really hard for me. It just I just end up procrastinating. So what I've done is that I no longer have it is called a task list, but I think of it as like uh, a maybe do it list. I look at that list every evening when I'm planning out my days, and I try to sort of triage what is important, what do I have to do tomorrow, what is the most important projects I have to work on tomorrow, and I try to schedule those. I also write those in my little pocket notebook where I do some notes and planning. Another like capture system. I just enjoy notebooks and fountain pens, so I will keep that in my system as well. But that is how I'm thinking about tasks right now. So in general, I'm not changing up my system that much, but I am thinking more consciously about it because, as I've said, I can't stand changing applications again. So the next time I pick an application, it has to work out. If not, I will just give up everything and just throw away all of my notes and just make videos instead. But jokes aside, I really want this system to work out because I'm tired of changing. I am like really, really tired of changing. So I've uh, done a lot of reflection on how I work, what is important to me. Like, for example, like I said, I struggle with applications like Notion and Obsidian, but I really like the way Notion works or ClickUp works because I can store so much information and I can have all of my social media stuff in there. And I also don't like having too many applications. I've tried that as well, like three, four, five applications. I can use it. Like it doesn't it doesn't discourage me. I can use three, four, five applications, but that is only when I have like one main application and then a lot of smaller ones, like I'm doing now with a diary with inspiration application. I don't have to write in my diary every single day. I really want to, but I don't have to. I don't have to add things or check my like inspiration application every single day. They exist, they have a use case. I can go into them and I can use them for that specific use case. Um, so that is how I am currently thinking about it. And if you're new to the podcast or the channel, I have no issues paying for a lot of different applications. That has never been an issue. I am really willing to pay for applications as long as they provide something to my system and make my life easier, which is what I'm hoping this system will do. So I have most of the things figured out. The thing I haven't figured out yet is like the note-taking app, and I will do an update on this later. Probably a podcast, then a YouTube video about it. So two separate. I will do a podcast where I talk about how I ended up picking that main note-taking application and my thoughts around that. And um, I also will do a YouTube video on the current apps I'm using and how I'm using them more concretely in another YouTube video. But I want to use my system for a while, so that video won't probably be until, well, we're in late February, so probably not until early early March. March is the next month, early April. Uh, Probably not until late March, early April at the earliest. But that covers it for today's podcast episode. This was a little bit of a longer one. Thank you so much for following following along. That was what I was going to say. Thank you so much for following along, and as usual, I hope you really enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe or follow. I think it is following on Spotify. Subscribe, like, and follow. I forgot my outro, but that's okay. Thank you so much for watching or listening to today's podcast.